war in Ukraine has been marked by brutal urban combat, drone warfare, and long-range artillery strikes. But nothing prepared the world for what happened on March 29, 2025. In a region already pulverized by months of trench warfare and drone swarms, Ukrainian special forces carried out one of the most devastating armored ambushes in modern history. Intelligence intercepted via NATO-backed signal operations confirmed a large-scale Russian armored column, estimated to be over 200 tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, had massed for a renewed offensive into the contested region of Avdiivka. But this was no ordinary push. Russia had invested significant logistics to ensure this advance would succeed. Supply lines were reinforced, command posts were repositioned. The operation was greenlit at the highest levels. However, unbeknownst to them, Ukrainian military intelligence had eyes everywhere. The 3rd Separate Special Purpose Regiment of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, often called Shadow Claws, had been training for a mission of this magnitude. With real-time support from NATO ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, Ukrainian forces established a trap using topographical data, decoy positions, and the terrain itself. Thanks to space-based radar and encrypted reconnaissance drones, the full scale of the Russian tank movement was revealed 72 hours before the push. Decoy trenches were dug, anti-tank ambush points were established, and the crown jewel, HIMARS precision strikes loaded and coordinated. But that wasn't all. Deep behind enemy lines, elite SF saboteurs infiltrated near Russian staging areas, planting remote-triggered explosives and disabling key radar assets. What happened next would be remembered as the most decisive mechanized ambush of the 21st century. From concealed positions along the ridge, teams equipped with advanced Western-supplied NLAW and Javelin systems began the first wave. Anti-tank mines detonated beneath the first 5 vehicles, severing the column and trapping the rear elements. Within seconds, HIMARS units stationed 22 kilometers away launched a precision-guided storm. Satellite-guided rockets smashed into the rear of the convoy, incinerating fuel trucks and mobile command centers. But the real devastation came from the skies. Bayraktar TB2 and Phoenix Ghost drones swooped in, each armed with tandem warhead munitions capable of piercing the thickest armor. And in a final act of coordinated fury, Ukraine's newest kamikaze drones, known as Sokil, dove straight into the center of the tank formation. The Russian column, caught in a perfect kill box, had nowhere to run. Military analysts estimate that out of the 217 vehicles in the Russian convoy, at least 184 were destroyed. Among them, 98 main battle tanks, T-72s, B-3s, and T-90Ms, representing the very core of Russia's remaining armored strength. Casualties remain unconfirmed, but intercepted radio chatter indicates hundreds of Russian troops were either killed or abandoned in the chaos. Within 48 hours of the ambush, Russian state television downplayed the incident, referring to it as a minor encounter. However, leaked reports from internal military briefings painted a far more desperate picture. Satellite intelligence confirmed emergency redeployments of units from Belgorod and Luhansk to reinforce the shattered front. Russia launched retaliatory airstrikes in the region, targeting what they believed were Ukrainian SF staging areas. But most attacks hit decoy positions, a psychological victory for Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russian soldiers began circulating footage on Telegram showing the scorched remains of their tanks, indirectly confirming the scale of the destruction. Morale took a severe hit, particularly among conscripted soldiers, many of whom began refusing frontline deployments. In the chaos of modern warfare, technology is changing the battlefield faster than ever. What was once the domain of tanks and jets has now become a drone-dominated arena, and the results are devastating. A Russian tank comes to a sudden stop, vulnerable and exposed. Then, out of nowhere, a Ukrainian kamikaze drone zeroes in. It dives straight into the tank's open hatch. A shaped charge detonates inside and reaches the ammunition storage. Within seconds, the tank is swallowed by a fiery blast. Ammunition cooks off. Flames erupt from every opening. The tank becomes a burning metal coffin. Moments later, an armored personnel carrier, an APC, is caught in the crosshairs. A drone slams into its front armor. The explosion is massive. The vehicle is completely destroyed. Another APC isn't so lucky. Stuck in a minefield, it's already vulnerable. A drone hits it from the rear. Before the smoke clears, a second drone strikes from the front. Twin explosions ignite the fuel and munitions on board. In yet another failed assault, a Russian APC bursts into flames. The munitions it was transporting begin to detonate one by one. The fire grows, consuming everything. Then a grenade drops through an open hatch of a nearby carrier. It explodes inside, sparking a fire that spreads rapidly. You can see ammunition cooking off, a terrifying cascade of explosions. Next to it, another vehicle begins to smolder. The blaze intensifies. Clearly, it was loaded with explosives. Ukrainian forces watch closely, documenting every moment. An abandoned Russian APC is soon targeted. A Ukrainian drone makes a slow, deliberate approach. The strike is clean and catastrophic. Flames engulf the vehicle. Moments later, a colossal explosion rocks the area. The drone camera captures the wreckage. The APC has been torn apart from the inside. But it's not just drones turning the tide. Ukrainian scouts identify a Russian missile storage site, a key supply point being stocked for days. Coordinates are passed to a HIMARS launcher crew. With precision, the crew fires the first missile, then the second. In slow motion, the impact is clear. Trucks and supply crates vanish in fireballs. The second strike hits the exact same spot. Enemy rockets begin detonating. Just 2 guided missiles, and an entire depot is wiped out. Elsewhere, a Russian Grad multiple launch rocket system preps for a barrage. Once launched, the attack gives away its position. Ukrainian recon drones are already in the air. As the Grad tries to flee, the drones lock on. One drone stays glued to the target, feeding its coordinates live. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.